I stepped out of the supermarket, arms aching under the weight of grocery bags, when something across the street made me stop cold. A man, tall, familiar, moved with a stride I knew better than my own reflection. My breath hitched. It looked exactly like Ryan, but that didn't make sense. He was supposed to be at the office, stuck in meetings, not walking into a restaurant with a woman on his arm. The sound of traffic blurred behind me as my pulse thundered in my ears. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it had to be someone else. In a city this size, surely there were lookalikes everywhere. But the way he tilted his shoulders, the casual way he held the door open, it was him. I could feel it in my gut. That sharp twist of unease wouldn't let me look away. My hand trembled as I set the groceries down and fumbled inside my purse for my phone. I pressed call, praying I was wrong. And then I saw it. He pulled out his phone, glanced at the screen, and declined. My stomach dropped. Seconds later, a message lit up my screen. "Love, I'm just about to step into a meeting. Can't talk now." My lips curled into a bitter smile as I whispered to myself, low and sharp. "A meeting? At the exact moment I see you walking into a restaurant with her? Not today, Ryan." I stood there on the sidewalk, bags cutting into my hands, but the sting didn't compare to the ache in my chest. I'd always trusted him, or at least I told myself I did. Now, watching him laugh with her as if he had no care in the world, I felt that trust splinter like glass. My instincts had whispered for weeks that something was off. Today, across that street, they were screaming the truth in my face. My mind raced. Do I walk away and pretend I didn't see? Do I confront him right here, right now, in front of her? Every scenario flashed through my head, each one more humiliating than the last. But beneath the swirl of panic was a strange calm settling over me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. This, him, was the proof. And for once, I had the upper hand. I set the grocery bags down by the curb and straightened my shoulders. If Ryan thought I'd swallow his lies, he didn't know me at all. My pulse was hammering, but I steadied my breath. I could feel a plan forming, sharp and deliberate. And instead of breaking down, I let a small, determined smile tug at my lips. Something told me this wasn't just the end of a marriage, it was the beginning of a reckoning. I kept my eyes fixed on the restaurant's glass door, the reflection of the city lights glinting like a cruel spotlight on my unraveling world. Inside, Ryan leaned closer to her, his face lit with that smile I hadn't seen in months. The sight cut deep, but it also steeled me. If he could lie so easily to me, to my face, to my heart, then I needed to be just as bold in uncovering the truth. A part of me wanted to storm inside and call him out in front of every stranger sipping their wine. Another part wanted to walk away and let the secret rot him from within. But standing there, I realized I wasn't going to let him dictate my choices anymore. No more sitting quietly, waiting for honesty that never came. This time I'd choose the stage and the spotlight. I picked up my bags, carried them to the car, and set them down gently in the trunk, as if I were closing a door on one life to step into another. My hands shook, but my resolve was firm. I slammed the trunk shut and turned back toward the restaurant. My heart was pounding, my mouth dry, but my mind was clear. I was going to cross that street, and whatever I found inside would change everything. I left the groceries behind without a second thought, the plastic bags crinkling as I shut the car door. Every step across that street felt like walking into fire, but I refused to slow down. The restaurant glowed warm and inviting, its windows spilling laughter and clinking glasses onto the sidewalk. I pushed through the door, the hum of conversation wrapping around me like a dare. My eyes scanned the room quickly, and there he was, in the corner, back turned slightly, laughing with her. My heart thudded against my ribs so hard I thought it might give me away. But my face stayed composed, almost calm, as if I were just another woman walking in for a quiet dinner. I'd learned long ago how to wear that mask of control, even when my insides were unraveling. A waiter approached with a polite smile. "Table for one?" he asked. My lips curved faintly, though inside my stomach twisted like a knot. "Yes," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Right next to that couple, please." He didn't notice the steel in my tone. Why would he? To him, I was just a customer. But to me, that table was about to become the front row to Ryan's greatest performance, and my chance to rewrite the ending. The waiter led me through the maze of tables, weaving between couples and groups, until we reached the one just beside Ryan and his mystery woman. My pulse was hammering, but I lowered myself into the chair with all the grace I could muster. I set my purse down, smoothed my skirt, and lifted my chin as though I belonged there. To anyone else, I looked composed. Inside, though, my blood was roaring. From this angle, I could hear his voice, so unmistakably his. That familiar cadence, the way he dragged certain words, it sealed it. There was no denying it anymore. My husband was sitting less than 2 feet away, laughing as though he hadn't just texted me about being in a meeting. I felt a bitter laugh rise in my throat, but I swallowed it down. He hadn't noticed me yet, and that was exactly how I wanted it. The woman across from him leaned in, brushing her hair over her shoulder, her eyes sparkling in the dim light. Ryan's smile widened, the one I used to think was mine alone. I gripped the edge of the table, steadying myself. Anger and heartbreak tangled inside me, but I forced my face into neutrality. I was no longer the clueless wife at home. Tonight, I was the silent audience, and soon, I'd become the director of the scene. I leaned back in my chair, pretending to glance at the menu the waiter had placed in front of me. My eyes traced the list of dishes, but none of the words registered. All I could focus on was Ryan's laugh. Louder now, careless, the sound of a man who thought his secrets were safe. Each chuckle was a knife, but instead of bleeding, I sharpened my resolve. The smell of garlic and wine drifted through the air, mingling with the soft hum of jazz playing from hidden speakers. Couples clinked glasses, waiters moved briskly between tables. And yet, for me, the world had narrowed to one corner of the restaurant. My husband. His lies. Her smile. Every detail etched itself into my memory. Fuel for the fire I was already stoking. I took a slow sip of water, my hand steady now. It struck me. He was so close I could reach out and touch him, and yet he had no idea. That realization sent a strange thrill through me. He thought he was in control, but the truth was, I held the power tonight. And soon, I'd decide how to use it. I set the glass back down, my fingers brushing the cool rim, and leaned ever so slightly toward their table. My voice slipped out calm, almost sweet, but carrying the edge of a blade. "Funny running into you here, Ryan." "I thought you had a meeting?" The sound of his name startled him, and in an instant his laugh died in his throat. He turned, eyes wide, nearly choking on his drink. The color drained from his face as though he'd seen a ghost. "Victoria? What are you doing here?" His stammer made every head at nearby tables flick in our direction, curiosity sparking like wildfire. And for once, I welcomed the attention. The woman across from him blinked, confused, her hand frozen midair with her wine glass. "Ryan, you said you were divorced." Her words hit the table like a dropped glass, sharp and irreparable. I raised an eyebrow, savoring the moment, my voice steady and cool. "Divorced? That's news to me. Last I checked, I'm still his wife." Ryan's mouth opened, then closed again, like a man drowning and searching for air. "It's not what it looks like," he finally managed, his voice trembling. But I didn't let him finish. My patience had snapped the moment I saw his hand brush hers across the table. "Oh, it looks exactly like what it is," I cut in, my words slicing sharper than I intended. And I didn't regret it. The woman set her glass down with a clink, her face flushing crimson. She looked from him to me, piecing together the mess she'd been dragged into. "You told me," she whispered, her voice shaking. "You told me this was over." For a flicker of a second, I saw shame cross her face. Shame, but also humiliation. She had been lied to as much as I had. I leaned back, folding my arms as the silence stretched around us. The clatter of cutlery and hum of laughter from other tables seemed to vanish. It was just the three of us, caught in a storm I hadn't asked for but wasn't about to walk away from. Ryan's eyes darted around, desperate, but mine stayed locked on his, steady and unyielding. He reached out a hand across the table, his voice dropping to a pleading whisper. "Victoria, please, you don't understand." I tilted my head, meeting his eyes with a calmness that surprised even me. "No, Ryan, I understand perfectly. You lied. You lied to her, you lied to me, and you even lied to yourself." My words were steady, but inside I felt the tremor of years of trust crumbling in seconds. The woman pushed back her chair abruptly, the scrape echoing across the room. She shook her head, disgust written all over her face. "I won't be part of this," she muttered, gathering her things. Ryan tried to grab her wrist, but she pulled away, leaving him exposed, abandoned at the table he thought was his safe little secret. All eyes were on us now. Strangers pretended not to watch, but I could feel their gazes burning. Ryan fumbled for excuses, his lips moving faster than his brain, but I leaned closer, my voice low and sharp enough for him alone. "You wanted a double life? Well, it just collapsed, and I'm not finished yet." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Instead, I pulled my phone from my purse and angled it just so, the camera catching Ryan's panicked face and the empty chair where his mistress had been. His eyes widened, horror flooding in. "Victoria, what are you doing?" he hissed, leaning across the table. My thumb hovered over the record button, steady as steel. "You've lied enough," I said quietly, my tone calm but cutting. "Since you enjoy telling stories, why don't we let everyone see the truth for themselves? Let's start with your boss, who thinks you're in a meeting right now." I watched his face blanch, the blood draining faster than I thought possible. That mask of confidence he wore every day cracked in front of me. He reached for my wrist, desperate, his voice breaking into a whisper. "Please, Victoria, don't do this here." The fear in his tone only fueled me. I wasn't the one creating a scene. He had done that the moment he chose deceit over honesty. Now, all I was doing was shining a light on it, and I had no intention of putting that phone away. His hands trembled as he tried to shield the phone from view, but it was useless. The lens had already captured the sweat on his forehead, the panic in his eyes, the hollow lies spilling from his mouth. For years he had carried himself like a man in control, confident, untouchable. But now, sitting across from me, he looked small, stripped, exactly the way he had left me feeling for far too long. "Victoria," he whispered again, his voice breaking under the weight of shame. "I'll lose everything if you send that." I raised an eyebrow, my lips curling into the faintest smile. "Funny?" I said softly. "That's exactly what you risked when you thought you could have me and her and a lie to tie it all together." The more he begged, the more his mask crumbled, and the more power I felt surging through me. The room seemed to hold its breath. People were pretending to focus on their meals, but their ears were tilted toward us, waiting. I wasn't about to give them a screaming match. I wanted precision, not chaos. So I steadied my hand, my finger pressing the record button with calm finality. Ryan's voice faltered, and the truth spilled out, caught in high definition for the world beyond this restaurant. The mistress, red-faced, had already stormed out, her heels clicking against the floor as she fled. That left Ryan alone, squirming under the weight of his own choices. I held the phone steady, the little red dot flashing back at me, proof that his performance was now immortalized. He dropped his gaze, shoulders caving in, as if the very air had been drained from him. "Victoria, please," he begged, his voice barely audible. "We can talk about this. Just us. Don't ruin me like this." The irony nearly made me laugh. He had already ruined everything that mattered. Our trust, our marriage, my peace of mind. I leaned in closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. "You humiliated me in public, Ryan. I'm simply returning the favor. In HD." He buried his face in his hands, a picture of defeat. Around us, waiters shuffled nervously, unsure if they should intervene. But I wasn't shouting, and I wasn't out of control. I was calm, deliberate, calculating. And deep down, I knew this wasn't just about tonight. It was about every night he thought I'd never find out. And soon, he'd discover how far I was willing to go. That night, I sat at my desk with the video glowing on my phone screen. Ryan's face, caught between panic and pleading, stared back at me, every word of his mistress echoing like a confession carved in stone. I didn't hesitate. With a few taps, I forwarded the clip to his boss along with a simple note. "Here's the meeting my husband was in today." My hands didn't shake this time. They were steady, certain, free. Within minutes, the red receipt popped up. I could almost picture his boss's expression, the disappointment, the calculation of what a man like Ryan cost the company's reputation. For years, Ryan had lorded his job over me, using it as proof of his worth. Tonight, I had handed him the bill for every lie he ever told, and I knew he wouldn't come out unscathed. When I finally turned off the screen, a strange calm washed over me. I wasn't the broken woman who had stood frozen outside that restaurant earlier. No, I was the one holding the reins now. The truth was out, the mask ripped away, and the consequences were no longer mine to bear. They were his, and his alone. When Ryan came home, his face told me everything before he opened his mouth. The defeat in his eyes, the sag in his shoulders. He already knew the walls were closing in. He tried to play the part of a repentant man, but I was done with his theater. I reached into the drawer and pulled out the envelope I'd prepared weeks ago. My instincts had been whispering for months, and now they stood vindicated in black and white. Divorce papers. He stared at them as if they were a foreign language. "Victoria, please," he stammered, voice breaking. "I made a mistake, but we can fix this." The same mouth that had kissed me goodnight was now spitting desperation. For a moment, I almost pitied him. Almost. But pity has no place when betrayal has been laid bare. I set the papers on the table between us, like a final line drawn. "The only mistake," I said firmly, meeting his eyes without flinching, "was thinking I'd stay." His lips trembled, his hands hovering over the envelope as if touching it would make it disappear. But I knew the truth. The only thing disappearing tonight was me. From his life, his lies, his world. I stood tall, my voice steady, as I watched him unravel. "You've lost me, Ryan. You've lost your job. And you've lost the mask you wore so well. All you have left now is yourself, and the lies you built your life on." His eyes pleaded, but they no longer reached me. For once, I wasn't the one crumbling. I was the one walking away whole. He reached for me, but I stepped back, grabbing my coat from the chair with a finality that silenced the room between us. The papers lay on the table like a verdict, and I didn't need to say another word. My footsteps echoed down the hall, each one lighter than the last, until the front door opened and I felt the night air kiss my face. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Behind me was the wreckage of his choices. Ahead of me was freedom, unshackled and mine to claim. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something powerful surge through me. Not anger, not grief, but release. The kind that comes when you finally stop living in someone else's lie.